Okay, so now you maybe understand the purpose of a mortgage, and you're like, okay, I want to take out a loan and buy a home, but how much of a loan can I take out? Well, this becomes tricky and tough to answer. So it's based off your credit score, which is your history of paying debts. And we'll get into credit scores. It's what's called a FICO score. It's basically how much debt you take out, how quickly you pay it back, and over what period of time. That determines your credit score. As long as you're taking out debt and paying it back, you'll have a good credit score. If you don't have a good credit score, there's no chance of you getting a mortgage. You'll have to fix that before you can apply for one. That's why it's important not to mess up your credit, because unless you can outright buy a home with cash, which if you have $500,000, congratulations, but most of us don't, you need a good credit score. So let's pretend you have a good credit score and you're making X amount of money a year. How much can you afford? Well, above in this question, I posted a table that explains that. So if you make $50,000 a year and you can put down 5% on a house, remember, if you could put down 5%, that's the total cost. The maximum home price you could probably afford is around $150,000 because your monthly payments are going to be roughly 40% of your monthly income. Okay. So in Austin, there are hardly any houses that cost $150,000. So if you're making $50,000 a year in Austin, you probably can't buy a house in the city. You'll probably have to make more money. And the table shows how much money you make a year versus the maximum amount you can buy. So kind of look that over, and that might determine, oh yeah, if you make $50,000 in Austin, that might sound great. But actually, if you make $40,000 in a small town like College Station, you could actually afford a house. So that's something to think about. And below, I asked the question of what's the maximum home price you can actually own if you make let's see here, what did I say? If you make $60,000 and you put a 10% payment down. So y'all are going to answer that below in the question box.